Hi everyone. In the last video we saw how to use the if function including nested if. The problem with nested if is that it can look quite complex when you have multiple conditions, and it's very easy to make mistakes due to the multiple parentheses that I use. Here's an example of a nested if. You can go through the other video which covers nested if in detail. I provided the link below in the description. On the other hand, IFS function looks quite cleaner. It's used for the same thing, to check for multiple conditions, but it looks much cleaner because you provide the conditions one after the other. So if we look at IFS, you'll provide the first condition, then you'll provide the value which is to be shown if the condition is true. Then you provide the second condition, and that's how you go on. So this is why IFS is much cleaner. Now IFS is only available in Excel 365 and versions of Excel after 2019, so it's a comparatively newer function. So let's see how to use it. So here I'm checking for the marks of maths, and if you look at the nested if, what we are saying is if the marks is greater than 90 you show A, if the marks is greater than 80 and less than 90 you show B, and if the marks is greater than 70 and less than 80 you show C, else you show D. So this is how you build a nested if function. So on the other hand, if I have to use IFS, I'll just start, I'll say IFS, then I'll say check if the marks is greater than 90, if yes show A, if the marks is greater than 80 and less than 90 show B, if it is greater than 70 then show C, and else if all the previous conditions are not met then show D. Now here true means you're hard coding true, that means you're saying like the condition is true, so in that case show D. So this looks much cleaner, and you just have to provide the parentheses in the beginning and in the end. So now when you're using IFS, you can provide all the conditions one after the other, and in the end you can use true, which acts like the final else in the nested if function. So it basically catches anything that doesn't match the other conditions, the earlier conditions. So when should you use IFS? As I said, if you have an older version of Excel, then you may want to stick with the if function, and even if you want to use nested if, use it only for simple cases. Like if you have 2 to 3 conditions, you may use a if function, else it's better to switch to IFS function. You don't get much errors, but you may get the NA error if you miss the true in the end. Here in this case it shows NA because you're looking for marks above 90, 80 and 70, but what if the marks is below 70? So you're not given that condition here. It was here, like in this case I had set true and then a default value of D, which I removed. To avoid such errors you should use the default value. It's a good practice to say true and a default value if none of the conditions are met. So it's a good practice to provide true in the end. Now here's a bonus tip. In certain conditions you should consider using the lookup table. So let's say once you have all the grades, you calculate the final overall grade, which is A, B, C, D, where say A means amazing, B means good. Now if you want to show the description for these grades here, you can use IFS function, but another way you could do is use a lookup table. So this is how it would work. So in the lookup table, provide the description for each of the overall grades. Then when you come here, so let's say your overall grade is B, so you will use the if and a function. So if and a function basically checks if a formula results in the NA error. So if that's the case, then it will return a specified value. Otherwise it will return the original formula's result. So in this case, if NA, after if NA I'm using the VLOOKUP function, wherein I check for the overall grade in this lookup table. If it finds a match, it will show the description for the second column, which is this amazing, good, average. False means you're trying to get an exact match, and if nothing is found, show a blank value. So here in this case B is good and A is amazing. I have another video where I have covered the VLOOKUP function. You may check that to understand the VLOOKUP function better. That's all in this video. If you liked the video, do subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching.